All right. Well, it is my pleasure to introduce our day chair today. Greg Alm, who is working away every meeting, is our day chair today. Greg was born in Minneapolis and raised in Bloomington, Minnesota, and currently he lives in Minneapolis. Greg attended Winona State University and majored in chemistry. He also attended the University of Minnesota Twin Cities campus and majored in computer science. Greg attended graduate school at the University of St. Thomas and earned a master's degree in software engineering. After a few chemistry-related jobs, Greg worked on the mainframe computer programming until a few years after Y2K. When he was diagnosed with autism and learned that he was part of the neurodivergent community. Greg made a career change to commercial driving and did that work until he's semi-retired. Today, Greg does church maintenance work, personal care attendant work, videography, and technology work like Zoom and church audio, and of course, here at our club doing the AV work as well. And Greg hosts many of his church's Zoom meetings. Greg tries to be, he wrote tries to be, but he is the first person here every Wednesday to get everything set up for our meeting. And he's currently also our assistant treasurer for the City of Lakes Rotary Club. So welcome, Greg, our day chair.
Thanks, everybody, for the applause. I have the pleasure of introducing our speaker today, Phil Hansen. Phil Hansen is president of Global Minnesota. Phil is known for innovative practices in revenue generation, board leadership, and volunteer development. Phil served as Red Cross executive for nearly 30 years, where he led efforts to deliver humanitarian relief, international biomedical safety training, and military family service. He was frequently deployed to support recovery efforts for major disasters. In 2004, Phil was appointed as chief executive for the Northeastern US, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands. He holds a BS in public administration from the University of Wisconsin-La Crosse and a master's in nonprofit management from Hamline University. Phil was honored with the Red Cross Presidential Award for Employee Excellence and as the Hamline School of Business Alumni of the year 2020. Phil is a terrible guitar player. That does not stop him though, and enjoys cooking and travel. He and his wife, Linda, a metalsmith, live in St. Paul with their wonderful dog, Charlie. Would you give a warm Rotary welcome to our speaker, Phil Hansen?
That was a very nice introduction. Thank you so much. It is so fun to be with a singing club. I was in a singing club when I was in La Crosse, Wisconsin, and to come back in, I always thought that music really brought a Rotary Club together. I just think that's wonderful that you guys have music at your events every year as well. So thank you for that. As I said, I did work for the Red Cross before coming into this role. You guys know the Red Cross, the only organization that asks you for your time. Blood. And so, so I moved over to something quite different now in this role. I'd actually taken off some time to care for my mother. Many of us have been in that situation. And so it took a year off to care for her. And when her care got to a level that they didn't need me quite as much anymore, I had the chance to come back to work again and found this opportunity. I'm here in our community, and I'm so pleased to be able to be here with you today to talk about that a little bit. So a lot of folks don't know a lot about Global Minnesota. What I'm finding is we're one of those organizations, when you go out and talk to people, if they know us, right away they love the organization and what it does. And a lot of people don't know us. And so when I explain the organization to them, they tend to think, gosh, this is a terrific thing. I should really be somehow involved in all of this. So most of my presentation today is just kind of giving you an overview of what Global Minnesota is and does. I thought you might find that interesting. And I'll give you some examples along the way of some of the things that we've been doing as an organization. So Global Minnesota, we've been here for going on, it's almost going to be 75 years. And 2 years from now, we'll have our 75th anniversary as an organization. So we're coming along. It actually went 1951 was when they kind of take the start of the organization. And what happened is quite interesting. You know, we're having all these wonderful international students coming to the Twin Cities. and they were going to their college classes and they were going back to their dorm rooms. And that was the sum total of their experience while they were here. And the thinking was, gosh, you know, a group of leaders got together and said, we really got to give these young people more of an experience, an American cultural experience while they're here. And so they set up a program where kids could go to people's houses for dinners and they could go to events in town and really get an exposure to what it is to be here in the United States and get to know us a little better. So we started out that way. And then over the last 70 years, the organization has evolved into truly what is considered a world affairs organization. And it has found itself really in the position of being one of the top world affairs organizations in the country, in part because of what was said by somebody earlier, that there is this tremendous international ecosystem here in the Twin Cities. Rotary's part of that. We have lots of great institutions that are part of that, lots of great businesses that are part of that, but there's definitely a strong undercurrent of support and engagement globally happening through the Twin Cities. And we'll talk about that some more. So our vision is to be a platform to connect, inform, and engage Minnesota on the international, economic, political, and cultural issues of our times. And so we're really this institution that's developed this really interesting core capacity, which is the ability to create customized itineraries and experiences for visiting diplomats, world affairs officials, people from around the globe that come to visit us on professional exchanges, to have that experience be a very robust and connected experience to our community. And we're considered a very trusted partner to be able to find really great experiences for these folks when they come to visit us, and to give Minnesotans the chance to get maximum exposure to some of these world leaders that are coming to our community every day. So for instance, just last night or Wednesday night here at the Women's Club, we had a program on war crimes. So we create these programs with really excellent speakers and presenters to talk about these global issues. Our mission is to advance international understanding and engagement. We have a set of strong values that we operate under in order to make sure, particularly under nonpartisanship, that we're creating a place and space for conversation and discussion to happen robustly. We're a nonprofit, nonpartisan, and really a member-based organization. You can see the top one, there's some of our international students. So even though we started out with international students, to this day, we still do a lot of work with our international students, creating programs and engagement for all of them. The bottom picture is just from yesterday. That's our new Humphrey Fellows that have come to town. And so we're welcoming them to the community, and they're going to be spreading out across our community, doing all sorts of great programming while they're here. So we are considered one of the top World Affairs Councils. We have relatively modestly sized organization. We're 15 folks that do the work every day. We're on a $1.6 million budget. We are a strong partner with the United States State Department. And their kind of arm that they work through with us is called Global Ties. And we'll talk more about how that works in just a little bit, but we're a strong partner there with the State Department, with the Congressional Office of International Leadership, and we're an affiliate of the Foreign Policy Association as well. And all of those create programming opportunities and connections for us that are vital to this community, to bringing people here to engage in our community. And you can see again up there that that's our whole crew up there, our staff in the top picture. And one of our presenters not that long ago was Rosea, the Undersecretary for Human Rights and Democracy in the United States. Again, we're a member organization. We have about 1,600 members. Now, when we say members for us, that's households. So it could be a lot more people actually, but we have about 40 corporate members that participate with us. These are some examples of some of those folks. And we have about 10,000 that is subscribed to our e-news. You don't have to be a member to get the e-news, and I recommend it. It's a wonderful one-pager that comes out every week. It includes really updates on events and activities that are coming up, a little bit of something on an international theme that we're trying to share information about. And there's always a trivia question. So you can't beat a trivia question. So that's something to consider. On that picture, there's a group of women political leaders that came here. We had a whole group. We had 20 women political leaders come in one of our delegations to study the entry of women and girls into politics in the United States. And they picked Minnesota as a place that they thought was a place that was progressive on this subject to come here and study with us, which was really fascinating. So World Affairs programming, this is one of our big pieces to our puzzle, is considered World Affairs programming. We feature expert speakers. We have foreign policy updates. We have economics, societal and cultural issues that we cover. It's a range of different things that in that genre. So an example would be, you're seeing on the top screen there, you ever have one of those moments where the former ambassador to Ukraine's name goes out of your head? Anyway, the former ambassador to Ukraine came to join us as well. And so when she was here, we had the chance to connect with her to talk about And this is kind of how our visits go. She got a chance to visit with, do a public presentation. So she's doing a large group presentation here. Then she got a chance to go to one of our schools. She went to the Ukrainian Community Center, and she also got a chance to speak to a women's group because she's got a strong bent on women's leadership in the country. So we're able to kind of put together a whole series of really excellent experiences for an individual that comes that maximizes their exposure to our community. The lower one is a really great annual event. If you ever get the chance to come, Tom Hansen does this amazing program, kind of sharing foreign policy going forward into the next year. And so we do a really good review of what's kind of coming down the pike for U.S. foreign policy each year, and that's done at the university. We have international business and sustainability programs, and we'll talk about those a little bit later. Global conversations and socials, a whole host of international dinner events. And this is an area that we've done a fair amount of connection with Rotary clubs on, is the international business events. And we actually have a huge trivia competition. So if you're into international trivia, we have a high school version of that competition. And then we have, which the competitors actually go on to competition nationally, the winners do. And then we have an adult version of that. And we have some Rotary clubs that will send teams to participate in this trivia competition that we do at the University of Minnesota as well. Professional exchanges. So this is probably one that you might have encountered a little bit in your business life. So again, working with the U.S. State Department through this organization called Global Ties, it's kind of neat. So around the world, our embassies sort of have a tool. When they recognize emerging leaders in their countries, they are able to encourage that individual and give them an opportunity to come to the U.S. to study for up to a month in a professional area of interest for them. So there's a whole range of different topics and things that they would come to study on, but then the State Department packages them into a group. Sometimes it's one country, like we had a group here in that lower picture right there. That's a group last week that was here of Egyptian renewable energy experts. So they came to Minnesota to study renewable energy. And then we actually then go back to Global Ties and we say, if they come here, here are the things that we would do with them while they're in Minnesota. And they say, yep, that's exactly the thing we want to see happen. And essentially, we're then given the opportunity to have this group come to us. We build out the itinerary, and then we take them around to all these different experiences that they get to have. They went to Excel Energy. They actually went out to the Mall of America. A lot of our groups come to the Mall of America because they want to get a shopping experience too while they're here. But these guys came out because they wanted to see all the lead things that went on in building of that property. So things like how they heat the entire place with human body heat and things of that nature. So they had a great tour while they were out there. So we do lots of these groups throughout the year. The visitors and their professional counterparts we handle about 300 visitors a year in the Twin Cities. 40 to 50 delegations every year come through that we're putting together, 3 to 4 each month that work with us. And that's that women's group again at the top that came here to study on the entry of politics, women into politics in the U.S. Professional exchanges groups. Again, here's some examples of some of the ones that we've had: renewable energy, human trafficking. We've had groups come on supporting, we have an entrepreneurial group coming in just a week again here, increasing women's leadership, innovative medical practices, building a free press. These are all delegations that have come here to study these things, and they're picking Minnesota. And what's really great about my job is I get to show off the best of Minnesota every single day. I get to show them our great institutions, our great businesses, our skilled professionals. They go around and get these exposures. And the good part for us is that we get to share what's great about Minnesota, these skills, these abilities, help them up their skill set. At the same time, they're sharing back to us because they're all coming as professionals in their fields as well when they come to visit us. So it's kind of a nice exchange that happens in this really, really amazing program. The Great Decisions program, I mentioned we just had one here at the Women's Club the other night. We have groups all across the state that participate in this. Every year, the Foreign Policy Association creates a set of different activities. You can see up here this year, it's on energy geopolitics, war crimes, China-US relations, economic warfare, and on down that list. And then we actually recruit the expert speakers that will come into the program. Anybody can organize this. Some Rotary clubs do this as well. They organize a series of these presentations. The presenter comes in, has the conversation, and then you get to have a group discussion about it. And in a time when there's just so few opportunities for us all to have these more robust conversations with one another, this is a great opportunity for people to come together, sometimes on difficult subjects. And you get into subjects like war crimes, tensions between US and China. It can be quite an interesting conversation, but it's a place and space to have that conversation. And so we're creating opportunities for people on a regular basis to be able to do that. And then our children's programming, we have a great classroom connection program where we go into classrooms. So we take those international students that come, or the Humphrey Fellows, we train them up, And then they actually go into our classrooms around the community. And we particularly pick classrooms in areas that have, because the classes are free. The program is free to our schools. And oftentimes we're working with schools that have economic challenges. So we're working with kids that maybe not getting this opportunity for this kind of an exposure to happen. And so we go in and they talk about their home country. So you can see the woman here talking about her country of Fiji. And it's pretty great, straightforward. What's it like to go to school every day in Fiji? What do you eat when you're in Fiji? What do you wear when you're in Fiji? They give this really great overview to the kids, and it's a 3-step program that they go through with them. So when I first came on board, I went to, when you get started, you want to go see all your programming, right? So I went out to participate and go along on one of these. And we had a young woman who was finishing her, she's a graduate student at the U, and she's finishing her program there, and she's from Korea. So she's going to speak about Korea with the kids, and she's up in front of the kids and she's talking to them. And she brought with her a whole bag of different Korean clothing that the children could try on. So like kids were coming up in small groups, to try on the clothes. And the rest of the kids were then at their tables, and they're all like have little coloring pages out. And she's made outlines of the clothing, and the kids are coloring in, the clothing, making their own colors. So I sat down next to this little girl, 3rd grader, and promptly she puts in front of me, she says, "Now you have to color too," she says. So she puts the page down in front of me and says, "You have to color too." So I start coloring and she's coloring. We're going back and forth. And eventually I look over at the young girl's little page and I look at, "Oh my gosh, that's beautiful. Your colors are wonderful. Oh, you're doing such a nice design there. That's really great work." And she says, "Well, let me see yours." And she takes mine and she holds it up. And there's a pause. There's like a long pause, and she's looking at it, and I can tell she's trying to figure out something positive to say. And finally she says to me, we all can't be good at everything. Isn't that great? So out of the mouth of babes. So so we get this great experience of taking all these wonderful, primarily young people into the classroom to talk about their home countries, to connect the children more closely to that. We have our Academic World Quest program, which again is this huge trivia competition. If you want to go to an event where you do have to wear earplugs, but it's great to hear the energy, the enthusiasm as these young people get their questions correct, and they scream and they yell, and they have a great experience doing this, and they go on to national competition. We also do a virtual exchange program. So we have a high school here that has an exchange with a high school in Ukraine. And we did a year-long program, and we're looking to expand that now because it was just so terribly successful. It was an amazing program. I have to tell you, these kids, I sat in on one of those sessions, and the first kid, a young person from Ukraine talked about the experience of living under the situation that they're in. And it was tough. I mean, the kids could hear it. You could see the emotion in the kids' faces. You could understand the feelings about that, and they were sharing. The next kid got on and talked about having a year-long experience in living in Minnesota. They've been an exchange student here from Ukraine. And she said, "Let me tell you how and when is the proper time to use the words you betcha." And so the kids then got into this whole conversation. So for a minute, they had this very tough adult, and the next minute they were kids again. And it was nice to kind of see that, but you get a sense of just how terrible this war is. At the same time that there's this underlying humanity of these young people that are just trying to figure out the best way forward together. So I'm glad we're a part of that as well. And then we continue our special focus on engaging, as I mentioned, international students as well. On the business side, we should say we have a very robust business program. So we have the world affairs side and on one side of the coin, and then for kind of the general public, and then we have the business side of the world affairs programming. And we do these international business roundtables. So we do 3 of these roundtables on a subject. One of the ones that I co-hosted with the Consul General from Canada and the Ambassador Sierra from Mexico. We had a program on trilateral trade between the 3 countries on the USMCA, the thing that came after NAFTA. So we do programs like that on international business topics that are important to our business community here. We also have sustainability, because a lot of our companies are working on their SDGs and trying to really understand how to be greener and more connected to some of those key factors that are trying to improve our climate and our businesses. And so we do sustainability roundtables with them. We do an annual business outlook program. We're just starting this in November. So we're going to have a speaker talk about trends in international business. That'll be out at the 3M. So hopefully people can join us for that. And then we also do this engagement with visiting dignitaries and diplomats. This is our CEO at Evergreen Energy here we had a German delegation come to talk about green energy solutions. And so he was leading a program about what we do in the Twin Cities around that, and they had a great exchange as part of that as well. So we engage again with visiting dignitaries and diplomats when they come. We get business delegations that come sometimes. Finland sent a wonderful business delegation here, and the Finnish ambassador came along, and he actually came back and visited subsequently with us as well, and has been a great presenter. As a matter of fact, I was working with the ambassador, just doing a speech on a program like this. And I said, Mr. Ambassador, here in Minnesota, we have 10,000 lakes. And he said, well, in Finland, we have 183,000 lakes. But I said, Mr. Ambassador, in Minnesota, we have such kind people. We get a whole thing coined about it. It's called Minnesota Nice. He says, well, Phil, I got to tell you, Finland's been voted the 60 years in a row as the happiest place on earth. I said, oh, okay. Well, here, this is it. I got you this time. We've got the best mythical guy going. Be it Paul Bunyan here. He says, Phil is home to Santa Claus. So, so score. So the ambassador won out on me on that one. For our businesses, though, we provide access, we provide insights, and we provide brand exposure for them as an opportunity to be more connected to our international community. It's really great. We bring the best ideas from the international realm, countries around the world, bring them here to Minnesota and create these exchanges with our business community that are robust and exciting. So there's the ambassador right there from Finland. And again, visiting councils, engagement with diplomats, private business briefings, and opportunities to host them. And Uponor is one of our members. And so we had a chance to host an event with the company, which is actually a Finnish-based company that has their North American headquarters here in our area as well. He's the most amazing ambassador. He negotiated the accession of Finland to NATO, and just is the most. We get to meet the most amazing human beings in this work, and he's just a tremendous individual. Our annual business outlook program, we mentioned that's coming up. So we do have that date set on November 29th. If you'd be interested in participating in that, that's open to anybody, not just our members. But we'll have a foreign policy update. We'll be looking at business trends to watch, how we might respond to those. We'll have a series of panelists from our largest corporations. We'll be up on stage afterwards to kind of reflect on those trends. It'll be a very interesting conversation. And some upcoming events for us, just if you're curious about other things that we've got going on, we've got Learning from Germany, Countering Intolerance at the Ramsey County Library. This is turning into one of our most popular programs this year. We have a couple of hundred people, I believe, registered now for this program. We have our new China Playbook event, Beyond Socialism and Capitalism. That'll be an online program with the author you see there. We have an international trade and networking reception that we're promoting as part of a program that's being put together by the U.S. Commercial Service. We are the Hubert Humphrey Fellows reception coming up. We have SMOUT, so you can kind of see the range of just a lot of business programs coming up, individual programs, community programs, lots of opportunities. And our website carries all this update of all the things that we've got coming up as well. We do, as I mentioned, have this Connect resource. If you're interested in just getting this, you don't have to be a member to get our weekly little newsletter that's on the left there. It's a great tool and great resource to keep up with all things international. And of course, our website's quite excellent as well for that too. Rotarians, so we've had a lot of work with Rotarians. When we had a delegation come just a while back here from Ukraine. It was a group of prosthetics experts. You can imagine what their world is like right now. They came here to study they're already skilled professionals, take their skill set higher, and they went to the Limb Lab and they went to Mayo Clinic, they went to the Protez Foundation and got experiences with some of that training, but they needed a place to stay. And so, and really a host, if you will. So the White Bear Club did a really nice job of providing homestays for them while they were here. And I suspect some of you have done this very same thing. So we're always in that mode. There's throughout the year, there's periodic groups that come that look for homestays. More commonly, though, people are looking for the home hospitality, a dinner event. We'd like to try to get people into homes for a dinner kind of experience. Again, just trying to create that, it's sort of the core of all of this, I think, is this idea that there's a need in the world for what they call soft diplomacy or subnational diplomacy, this idea that we are all in a position to create an impression upon people that may come here that might make a difference at some point in the world. And so when people come here and get a great exposure, great experience, meet Americans, find out that we struggle with issues and challenges, but we are great people. We work hard. We have a lot to share. And they go back home again and they say, I had this I was in the US. I went to Minnesota. I met people, whatever kind of thing they're hearing from all the, upset that's going on up here, they have actually met people here and know that, we are decent human beings, just like they are, striving and trying and doing the best we can in the world. So it's nice to have that kind of connection happen. And we think that's really important part of what we're sort of all about here. And so we have these dinners as part of that, along with all the other things that we do to connect people to our community. Homestays, professional. Sometimes when we have the professional groups come here from around the world, we may tap into some of you that are at your business locations and say, hey, they're here to study the impact of media in the United States. So we look for our media professionals, or we are here to study agriculture. So we look for our agricultural professionals. So we sometimes connect with Rotarians to help us with that presenter side of things. Event co-hosts, there may be something that we all can do together. Maybe there's an event we'd like to do as a team to help promote together, to engage together, to organize, to get more people there. Our objective is we believe that every international organization here is part of this ecosystem, this team that we have here in the Twin Cities. We want everybody to succeed because we're trying to do this thing of creating greater international understanding and engagement. And whatever we can do to help another international organization here do well with that, we're going to try to help them too. So we kind of work together across the systems, and Rotary is a big part of that. Rotary has got one of the greatest impacts, I think, on international service anywhere in the world. And so being able to partner with you guys from time to time is really important. Engaging in our business programs and then our global gala. So I just want to say a couple of thank yous. I want to definitely thank Rob Scarlett. Rob has been, I was telling Rob when I came in, when you come on board, you're new, so you're meeting lots of people, and everybody wants to tell you who you should meet. And I must have had 400 people tell me I got to meet Rob Scarlett. They were just like, oh, you got to meet Rob. He's so connected. He knows so many people. He's done so much good in the community. So it was really nice to have Rob here and to be able to connect with him when I came on board. I thought say thanks again to all of you as Rotarians for what you do. I love it. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? I mean, those are just tremendous words to live by. They sit right above my desk. I'm not a Rotarian now, but I've been one. And I've always thought the build goodwill and better friendships is just so centered to what I'm doing right now. And so I think about that a lot. And I'm trying to find ways to connect with my Rotarian friends because I think we're so aligned up with the kinds of things that we're trying to do together here. But we have this great group of people. And again, I would encourage you to think about coming out to an event and joining us for an activity. You may be finding something that we might all get a chance to be able to do together. So I just would finish with, it is so important to have these international connections. The first time I got to go back to Norway and see my family farms. We have 2 farms in the family. Last summer, I got the chance to go back. And one of the farms, my cousin Arthur still runs the farm. He's 83. And he had a shed set up where he had all the artifacts in there from his past. And so he didn't speak any English. So his granddaughter was interpreting. And he went in there, he wanted to show us, he wanted to connect us a little more to our past as we were there, which I think is really important. I think it's part of this exchange that happens with what we do every day. So he's in there and he pulls out a wash thing. He says, we said that's for wash. We're kind of guessing now what he's interpreting for us. And he pulls out looks like a pestle of some kind that's for grinding something. And he pulls out another device that was used as a lever for some piece of equipment. And he's explaining that to us. And finally, he pulls out this big stick with a knob on the end. And now we're really guessing. We're like, oh, is that for grinding something? Is that part of a tractor piece? And he says, no. Sometimes on Saturday night, the men would drink a little too much and we use this to knock them over the head. So you just never know. So it was a delightful connection, but it's nice to make a connection with all of you. I hope this was helpful today. There are some pages at your table that list some of the upcoming events. You're welcome to take one of those if you would like. I'm happy to take questions if there's still a little bit of time to do that. Is that all right? And but thank you. Thank you all very much.
Thank you for that information. That was new. A lot of it was new to me. Do you have volunteer opportunities to participate as a volunteer in some way?
There are. So there's a variety of different committees that are organizing events and activities throughout the year. Things like the Gala Committee, things like the committees help to put together some of the bigger events that we do. And then we of course have board opportunities with the board and the board committees as well. So there are some certainly volunteer activities, and anybody that shows up at our door and says they're interested in volunteering with us, we have plenty of work. So if you'd be interested, we'd be happy to find, or if you know of others you think would be interested, we'd be happy to make that happen. Yes.
We have a question online from Jasmina who asks, are all the events available to us to attend?
Not all of them. I'd say a high percentage of them are. Occasionally, we have a members only event. But more typically, if we have an event like that, we have like many of the events are free. The ones that aren't free are pretty low price, but oftentimes there's a little difference between what a member price would be and what a non-member price would be. And membership's not that expensive, to be honest. It's like $75 a year to be a member with us. So, but if it's a student that wants to be a member, we greatly reduce that price, sometimes all the way down to very little. So, because we want the young people participating. But generally speaking, the vast majority of the events are open to everyone. There's just occasional ones that are member-only events.
We've run out of time.
Yep.
So thank you for coming, Phil.
Yeah.
And as your reward for the day, or we'd like to give you a pen.
Great.
We also have a book here we'd like you to sign. This will be given to a third grader at a charity Way to Grow, helps them improve their reading skills. And as like Maria talked about the other day, I'd like to extend a warm welcome to you to join our club. We'd love to have you.
You're good.
Yeah. Thank
Right,
you.
sir. Thank you very much.
We find that.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. I'm like, boy, he already knows the four-way test by heart. He'd be a great Rotarian. Thank you all for being with us today. Thank you to Tony for giving our reflection. Greg, thank you for being our day chair. Brock and Greg, thank you for being Zoom masters today. Dick and Steve, thank you for doing the admin work and signing folks in. It's good to see you all here. Here's a big thing though. No meeting next week. So don't come here next week. We're taking the week off for Labor Day. No meeting next week. Don't show up next week. But September 6th, we have Ellen Walthar from the Cufflink organization, which is an organization that's bringing donors to nonprofits to accelerate their growth. So you aren't going to want to miss that on September 6th. But don't come next week. There's no meeting next week. All right. With that, have a good Rotary 2 weeks.